Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Starseed Activations. Excellent. Welcome to the 888 portal as well. I hope that your manifestations are going very well today. So, we are going to ever so gently start out with an Om. Now, what an Om does is it opens and expands our heart chakras, which allow us to feel more unconditional love for the self and unconditional love for all things and people and beings around us. So, just as we are doing this, I want you guys each to just visualize a white tube of bright light coming through your body and just feel it radiating out the front of your chest, allowing that love to wash over everything around you. So, we take just a deep breath in. And one more deep breath in. Beautiful, beautiful. So tonight we're going to discuss knowledge, students, but really quickly, we just want to say thank you, dear star people, for channeling with us tonight. Thank you so incredibly much for bringing forward the best information that's in alignment for all of the people watching the channeling. And so we just say thank you, and we send you many love and blessings. Excellent. So tonight we are going to be discussing knowledge students. So a knowledge student is really an individual who is focused on gaining knowledge, whatever that may look like. So this type of person may need more information in order to allow that timeline to fully manifest for them. So what that means is you may know a person in your life and you may tell them a piece of information. Doesn't matter what it is. If that person turns around and then has to research and find more information in order to change or fine tune their belief systems, thus allowing them to further expand that manifestation, that's a knowledge student. Now, it's a blessing to have knowledge students because when you start to recognize people like this, that means that they are ever seeking new information in order to change or modify the belief patterns running. Those type of people you want to be aware of because that means that they don't really get locked into too many belief systems that are not interchangeable. So if new information comes across their desk, then they may feel compelled to dive deep into the new information, allowing the belief systems to change. Which is amazing. Now, many of us along the spiritual journey, we are knowledge students because we had to wake up to some degree or the other to the sheer fact that the physical reality that we have been shown is not what it truly is. It is a form of a simulation. For the atoms and molecules are under a state of frequency or they are vibrating, which allows us to see that things that are solid are not actually solid when we place them underneath a very high intensity microscope. Now, this is important because when we start to recognize that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions can then change the frequency of all items that are in the physical reality. The first step to unlocking and going through the ascension process is always diving in deep and utilizing self-love. For the second that an individual falls in love with their self, they actually embark on a journey of healing. Now, that journey comes across in many, many different ways. For every single person has his or her own viewpoint lens, which is located in the eyes, 3 of them. They make a triangle. This is how the knowledge students work as well. There's a triangle that they primarily focus all the knowledge through. Now, when we start to embark on this healing journey, any information that we need to change our belief systems shall then come to us automatically through divine synchronicities, allowing us to change our belief systems and allowing us to manifest into better health. This may look like you needing a particular plant And all of a sudden you didn't know about the plant, but then you got sick, and then all of a sudden the plant is here, and the knowledge that you needed to change your belief systems came first. So you may see something online about how the dandelion opens and expands the heart chakra and it heals heart diseases. And then all of a sudden the dandelion is right outside your door and they're all over the place. Well, the universe was trying to give you the dandelion, but you didn't recognize it. You didn't see it as a synchronicity. So what happened was the universe had to turn around and give you knowledge. And that knowledge, once further unpacked, allowed you to change your belief systems. You came into a form of awareness on the plant. And then because you had the belief systems in place, now when you fully engaged in the plant, it allowed the healing process to happen much more rapidly. This is a beautiful part about never accepting and always seeking more knowledge. The universe works as a fractal. So if anyone has ever seen a spiral seashell, I have one. Actually, it's a tiny bit broken, but that's okay. Things don't have to be perfect, but it spirals out. And so this is a fractal. Now, when we take a look at that spiral shape, all knowledge flows in that, because if you pull it like this, it turns into a DNA spiral, if you think about the shape. Now, that same shape is your center Kundalini tubule, and that tubule spirals out into the vortex system inside of your body. Everything runs in vortexes. This is the way the system works. It's got the throat chakra again today. It's beautiful. So when we can start to recognize that everything flows in a vortex, it gives us the opportunity of coming into awareness that knowledge fractalizes itself outwards. Now, what that looks like is you stepping into one piece of knowledge. Let's say you stepped into the knowledge about the dandelion. Now, all of a sudden, there's a potential running for you to take that knowledge and expand it. And the more conscious focus and attention you place on plant-based medicine, the more and more the universe is going to start to give you that. Because wherever our conscious focus and attention goes, more energy comes in. So if you're focused on positivity, on healing your body, healing your mind, healing your spirit, activating yourself, activating extrasensory abilities, the universe is going to give you more and more of that. Now, of course, the way the system works, it's always going to show you reflections first, but the reflections are there to show you what you are about to manifest. And so what that looks like is very interesting, because let's say you're trying to manifest a new car. This is a basic one. We've all done it at some point or another. You may start to see that car that you are trying to manifest everywhere. Now, this is how the reticular activating system works as well, because it's a part of our brain in the front neocortex, which then starts to the focus and attention starts to activate this cortex, which allows us to see our manifestations. This is how the physicality of the manifestation process works. However, let's say you're trying to manifest something like magical abilities. Now, all of a sudden, your brain is wired to see them. You'll start to see the magic that is already here in the physical reality. The first step of that is always going to be things like sacred geometry and quantum physics. When we dive into sacred geometry and quantum physics, it shows us the magic that is already right here, right now. And so there's a mathematical patterning that is underneath every single living thing in the reality that we see. So we can take a look at even the mathematical sequence of the physical body. There's a pattern to it. And the second that we can identify there's a pattern, it allows us to look even deeper. Well, the atoms and molecules are vibrating, and there's a scientific mathematical pattern behind every single thing that we see. Then we start to dive in one level deeper. Well, our thoughts and our focus is what affects the physical reality. So all states of reality are in a wave form until the conscious focus and attention focuses on any aspect of the physical reality. It generates a particle. And that particle is your perception. That is also called a 0 point. There are many different types of 0 points. There's one located inside of your heart. That 0 point inside of your heart it activates with different emotions. So this was another download. We have to read the entire post on this one. Hold on. And it's 7-Eleven. That's so cool. That's one of I've been seeing 7 and 11 everywhere. So, okay, the post is called Tesseract System of Circles and Squares. I'll just read it. This way you guys understand. Inside the personality grid complex is a 64-bit cube system that allows the vortex energetic to select the now moment expression. This system is the channeled energy of a personality. The personality is known to shift in each individual's expression, allowing for variance of the higher soul to manifest. So what that basically means is we have a 64-bit cube inside of our hearts. It's not exactly a square. It's like a cross with squares, tiny little boxes, 64 bits. Your light tubule comes down and then it sits inside of this personality grid complex. So what that looks like is the light stream goes in and out each one of these personality boxes in order for us to choose the personality resonance we wish to hold. So we can recognize from a human perspective that when we're around different people, places, and things, we act differently. We have our business personality we may put on. We have our social, we have our family personalities. So this is the way the system works. This is also how advanced channeling works. For every single different fractal of the source frequency may be pulled down in order to allow that personality access, which then allows for a form of channeling of the individual. So let's say, for an example, you wanted to channel a Native American, a tribal leader, anybody. So we see a Native American, feathers in the hair. We imagine, we visualize. And then all of a sudden, after we visualize that individual, there's going to be a little light that comes down. Of course, from a human eyes, nobody sees this. But if you were in the astral realm, you'd probably be able to see it. The second that light takes its seat inside of the personality grid complex is the second that now you can start asking that individual questions. Realize that light stream is fully connected to their higher self, and it is coming down your body, connecting to yours, allowing for the form of channeling to fully manifest for both individuals. For there is a there is a part of energetic bonding that takes place, and so there's going to be a residual energy that goes back up to his higher self as well, or her higher self. It doesn't matter, whichever personality you're channeling. But this is the way the system works. Now, when we speak about automatic downloads are when you download a knowledge packet. This packet, let's just say it's like a zip file they're showing me. So if you wanted to read the entire book, but you didn't want to sit throughout the time and space, just imagine and visualize that you can pull down the entire packet of knowledge from the book, which then takes its seat inside of the personality grid complex, and then it resonates out, allowing for all of that knowledge to then unlock into your cellular structures. The beginning stages of this ability is going to look like you may have a glimpse, you may have a thought, or you may just know. And when you just know what the whole book is about, you can sense into the book. Now, when we start to level up that ability, you are going to be able to hold the book up to your heart and just know what the entire book is about, as if you have already read the book. I've actually come across an individual who was able to do this in 2019. He placed one of my journals up to his heart, and he was like, "This is not the book that you were here to write, but this is a good start. Don't stop." And now all of a sudden it's 5 years later and I've already written a book. I'm working on the second one. So we are able to do this, and I've already seen someone who can. Now, the more and more we start to recognize that time and space is an illusion. It is all controlled from inside of the heart chakra. This is how the flicker rate works. The flicker rate is what shows you the simulation, and how all of the simulation, it has a flicker speed to it. And that speed is controlled by the emotions that are inside of your heart. Now, what it looks like, because I've seen the way the flicker rate looks, imagine and visualize all your perception is pushed out. You're going to hear a whoosh, 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 whoosh. That's how it sounds. but it looks like a picture with a picture behind it and a picture behind it, and it looks like a comic book and it flickers. That's how the perception of it looks like. Now, inside of the heart, it's actually forming a cube. This cube goes over the personality grid complex, and it's a cube within a cube, and it flows in and out in a circular pattern. Now, just imagine the circles and the squares. The circles and the squares show us different levels of consciousness. This is how the system works. It's because inside the personality grid cube, you have a bunch, 64 different squares that your circle can go into, but then outside of it, but it's flowing in and out, is a tesseract cube, which everyone should be Googling what that is, so you kind of get a viewpoint of it. It's a square that flows in and out. That sits directly on top of this entire system, and that's what controls your flicker rate. Your flicker rate is what controls time and space. This entire system becomes activated by the thoughts and the emotions. So you have to be able to hold a very high frequency emotion. It doesn't matter if it's happy or sad. That is just what it is. If it's sad, the time is going to go slower. We're going to feel heavier. You're not going to feel as light and love and all the good stuff that we want to feel. Yes, you can activate it in the sadness. We don't recommend it because we want to feel good and we want to shine bright and we want to be happy. Activating it with love is going to allow that time space to go very, very rapidly, so that we're able to flow through 5D frequencies as children are. Very happy, very blissful, very in the now moment, not worrying too much, because worrying is a lower frequency. The more and more we start to activate this system, it naturally is going to expand, and it's going to allow us to feel into the other systems of the body. Now, it's very high value for each of us to be doing quiet meditations throughout our day. A quiet meditation would be something along the lines of laying down and feeling into each and every body part. So put your awareness inside of your toes, put your awareness inside of your legs, but do it the calf first. So it's a small location. Start asking your body, is there any blockages here? Are there any emotional imprints here that need to be cleared or healed? Start asking and talking to your body. You could talk inside of your mind to your body. Your body hears all the thoughts and all the emotions. Now, we want to always clear out any emotional imprints. An imprint really is when we start the process of holding a high emotion, happy or sad, and speaking to the body. If anyone has ever gotten like cursed out, right? When someone is really, really angry and then they're screaming the low toxic words at you, it starts the process of imprinting you on the cellular levels. So what we would want to do is during your meditation, take your awareness, your focus in the different body parts, and then start ever so gently releasing. So the way that we release, we always want to forgive, because forgiveness is going to always allow us to hold more love and more light for our bodies, as well as to shine it outwards for everyone. Now, when we forgive, we are not only forgiving the people on the outside, but we are doing it because it's going to start the process of healing us as well. The people on the outside are just a reflection of an experience each of us needed to have in order for each of us to evolve. So if you are witnessing experiences through other people that are lower or toxic in their nature, that is simply because there is a part of you that is unhealed inside. The more and more you start to go inward, you start to hold more love, more compassion for all the people who have done you wrong, as well as for yourself and any mistakes you may have done. This is a whole healing journey, but it is of high value, especially right now. I know everyone is very focused on manifesting different things today, but what I'm telling you guys is let's take a moment and let's go inward as well. Because the more and more we can go inward, we can clean up our energetic field. It is going to allow us to manifest more light. And when we hold more light, that light then reflects outwards and it starts to have an impact on the entire civilization. It only takes one small voice to make a huge impact in the world. We have been taught otherwise. What can one person do? Elise, That's an attachment, and that's a fear-based way of thinking. It only takes one person to make a change. And we can see this all throughout history. There's always been that one person who thinks differently. And then all of a sudden their ideas and whatever it is that they are trying to will into the reality, it comes and it has this grand potential of being beautiful. What I'm telling you guys is that we could band together, we could do this together. And we are doing it together. Because when we come together in these groups, we come together to heal each other and to become a family and a soul tribe. And we really come inwards more to help each other, to say, well, this worked for me. What worked for you? How do you feel? You feel good? You did that? Well, let me try doing that. And now all of a sudden we're sharing knowledge at an exponential rate. That knowledge then reflects outwards, because every single time any individual has a single thought inside of their mind, including this channeling now, which is like so interesting to me, that thought is a slipstream. And that slipstream is coming not only from my mouth, but there's two other people somewhere out in the world who are having this exact same conversation. It's a different viewpoint lens, which means it has to flow through their systems in their voice and their tone and their accents and all that. It's portrayed from them. However, it is the same exact conversation being downloaded by three people at the same time. So we take a look at when individuals have bright ideas, like the light bulb. The light bulb, the idea, or the genius behind it, it was downloaded into three people at one time. Two people made the light bulb, but the third person was there just to have the idea, to not do anything with it. That's a little different, because when you have an idea and you don't do anything with it, it sends the bright idea down. And when it goes down into the mirror dimension, because of the way the dark matter Merkaba field is connected. That's a story for another day. However, when we have these ideas, they reflect outwards into the entire civilization. So the more you guys can sit and you can have these types of conversations with anybody who will listen to you, it doesn't matter how big or how small the piece of knowledge is, get really excited. Because the more excitement that you are holding, it acts like an energetic casting into the simulation, which then in turn, it starts to affect the human consciousness grids. The more and more we can start to place focus and attention on the human consciousness grids and casting this type of ascension knowledge, either upwards or outwards, either way you see it, it is perfectly fine. This is going to start to have an effect on the way the people on the outside realities think. Now, what's actually happening is, it's not really them who are shifting, it's us, because we are fine-tuning our belief patterns, which allows us to change our resonance, our frequency, and it allows us to shift into parallel realities that we are more fine-tuned with to go through the ascension process. We can also manifest on collective levels, which is key. Because when we start to have larger groups of people come together and we start to do large meditations together, then we are able to take the thoughts, and instead of broadcasting them out by 3 individuals for the one thought at one time, it reflects outwards to at least 9. But then the star people is saying it's more like a tetrahedron in its nature, and it reflects outwards to the 3rd degree, because that's how the ring systems work. Now, let me see. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Let me take this up. I think we went over this part. Inside the heart chakra system is a 0 point, which controls the flicker rate. This controls the time-space expression. When the circles and squares are activated into 5th density bandwidth, it shall allow a sacred geometric structure of a tesseract cube to be observed. This cube resembles a cube inside of a cube, and the rotation speed is matched in light speed by the flicker rate of the heart. That whole system controls time and space. This is like the most important information that the entire world needs to know, because this is how you activate yourself. To activate the squares, the higher self must already have taken its seat inside of the heart. So we've done different open heart chakra meditations and all of that, and even the Om, where we are opening and expanding the heart chakra system. And now you could feel the higher self pull down, and you could feel the higher self open. It's very similar to that of the pineal gland. When the higher self, it's not even a foot out from the body, and it opens, it flowers open. Now, when the higher self takes a seat, You can also work with the pineal gland. There's different breath work meditations you can do to open and activate the pineal gland, but really visualization of the Tesseract cube inside of the heart and visualizing this entire system. You can go inside and you can visualize the 64-bit cube personality grid complex, and one at a time, just imagine that you are pulling in these little squares, and you are, if there's any darkness in you, come out. Kick the darkness out. I now encode you with love and light. And the more you do this, it's going to start to affect your actual personality, because whatever you do on the inside energetics, it reflects outwards 1,000%. This is like a solid fact in my reality. So if you energetically imprint yourself with love and light, you are going to start to see more love and light in your actual waking world. Now, we speak many times about imprinting different items. So we can imprint a crystal. We can speak positive words over water that actually imprints the water, because the water holds memory. We can speak to the water inside of the body. These systems are all connected. Now, when we start to speak to the body and say, thank you for allowing all of us access into the Tesseract cube. Thank you for allowing all of us into access above time and space, so that each and every one of us are fine. Allow the higher self to be fully seated in the heart, so that the highest potential timeline is then available for expression for each of us, allowing us to release any densities, any distortions, and to ever so gently rise into 5D at a very safe rate. Thank you, star people, for guiding us throughout that manifestation, so that it is safe and gentle for each individual watching. Beautiful. This cubed system allows for instant downloads of knowledge packets from the higher self. This download may access information from parallel reality versions of the self, allowing for the expression of all knowledge available. The parallel versions of the self are, let's say, in another lifetime, somewhere in the multiverse, I'm a chef. That person is out there right now. She's just in a different frequency, but she's connected to my higher self. So the way that this download of knowledge comes is you go into the heart, you activate the system, you pull the consciousness up, or it's instantaneous. As star people are saying, you can even just ask the higher self, and the higher self will just give you the knowledge that you are requiring in the now moment. But you can also make different types of player character changes. So what that means is, just imagine you're diving in. We'll call it a meditation, but it happens very, very rapidly. So it's just like you close your eyes and there it is. But you close your eyes, you pull your consciousness back up to the higher self. Then you can actually shift over so that you are the chef. You can witness her life from her eyes, see what she sees. The longer you stay in her reality, and it happens very rapid, so you have to be just aware of it. When you bring your consciousness down to see from her eyes, it happens very rapidly. But like the memory grids start to blend, and then you become her. And then if you're unaware of any of the spiritual knowledge, you can get in that reality more permanently. This is casting the consciousness. So we can cast our consciousness to not only other parallel reality versions of ourselves, but we are also able to witness and perceive the reality from another individual's eyes. That is also an advanced form of telepathic communication. And the star people are available to cast their consciousness into, like, flies, for an example, or animals, for another example. And when they do this, it's a form of telepathic communication. There has to be a love-based bond in the light realms. So from our perspective, we teach you, you have to have a love-based bond. It can be activated with light or darks, that we will say. Oh. I'm all like, go team light. Right? They're like, no, you could do it in the dark arts as well. Thank you for the error correct. However, we do things in the light, right? So you should, according to the world of Danielle, you love and light the animal so that the animal knows that you are safe, and it will allow for this form of telepathic communication to take place. And then it really starts with the process of visualization. So the process of visualization is, how does the fly feel? You have to see, imagine, visualize seeing out of his eyes, visualize his wings. He may take his back legs, he may touch the wings. He may gently walk. You have to just imagine that you're feeling all of these things. What you're going to actually see, the longer you focus on it, it will manifest for you. But what you're going to actually see is like a flop, flop. That's kind of how it feels. And it's the flicker rate. And the flicker rate is going to show you the image and then pull your consciousness back into the room that you were already in. And then you're going to see the image. And of course, the second you see the image for the first time, your heart jumps into your throat and you break the connection. This is just what happens. The more and more you start to focus on this, you're going to see it. And then you're going to one day hold it. And the second that you're able to hold it, you're able to move the fly with your mind. Now, this is known as a perception box, because the second that you're able to perceive from another insect's eyes, you have just opened a perception box. Perception boxes is a very advanced form of running your simulation. We are able to hold perception boxes for multiple people, multiple animals, and even plant life, or the consciousness of our planet itself. All perception of all life, we are able to open another box. It completely gives a whole new meaning to television and reality TV. Because now just imagine if you were able to open a perception box and you were able to watch someone's entire life happen in the now moment. But the perception box is not only in the now moment, you're able to see the entire timeline of their entire life. And if you really wanted to, you can even dive in deep to their Akashic records, which grants access into the past lives as well as a future life. Now, the higher self controls the codex. So each person, our higher selves, have the quantum codex, which is our quantum book of life, basically. So it's the version of me in all of the different parallel reality versions of me is all blended together in the quantum codex. So if you've ever needed knowledge or information, your higher self is holding all of it for you, which is a blessing. Now, that's also how the process of incarnation works, because they go through the book, the quantum book, to see what lessons need to be learned, because they could see all the reflections. So if this needed to be healed, they would send a piece of the higher self down into the physical reality, because this is a playground for the souls. And then we would go through the darkness and the experiences and all of the stuff to get that imprint healed, because the higher self can see the imprint and can see how it's reflected not only into our past and future lives, but it can also see how it's affecting the parallel version lives as well. Because there is a form of, it's like a drop of water in a bucket and it ripples out. So we can see all the parallel versions closest to us ripple out. They have an effect depending on what we are doing right now. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's see. Alignment of the tesseract cube shall form cohesion with the heart flicker rate, which controls time and space. This allows both thought and emotion grids to resonate at one solid frequency. And when they say one solid frequency, that basically means all your thoughts and emotions start to manifest instantaneously. This is what 5D is. However, we truly, truly are blessed, because every single person has guides, whether they be angels or extraterrestrials. We are all being monitored and watched by very, very loving, caring, kind beings that are making sure that we don't open the systems too soon. Because if we unlock the system and we have fears, the fears would manifest into our reality. So we just have to thank you, dear angels, for guiding and protecting all of us, so that we ascend into 5D very smoothly and very safely for all people on this planet. When we start to do manifestations like that, that is it's a blessing, because it's going to allow the spiritual journey to open and expand for each of us, where we start to dive into healing ourselves. And healing ourselves looks like getting to know yourself. How does your body feel? I used to laugh at that question, Right? I used to laugh super hard. What does that mean? Right. And now all of a sudden it has a whole different meaning than what they were referring to it 20 something years ago. It actually means closing your eyes and feeling the net. So we have a fascial system, which is your electrical system that's underneath the body that stores your imprints. And so you'll hear, oh, you're holding your emotions in this location in your body. Now, what I'm telling you is that there's an actual energy net underneath your skin, and we can feel all emotions. Now, each emotion can be holding a crystal. The crystal is giving a frequency. That frequency then shifts this net because it's energy. It's like two. There's a physical component to it, and there's an ethereal component to it. Every single emotion, if you close your eyes and you think and you call up an emotion, your net shifts. Okay. Anytime we're releasing attachments, people feel your belly might gurgle. You might feel energy shift or energy move. That's because we're touching into this net. This net is the most important thing in your life, because the second that you learn the resonance field of all emotions, including all experiential emotions, it then changes the game for you. And so you learn how to release any dark emotions, and you now learn how to hold, because we can call up the emotion of happiness and bliss, but unless you can push it into this net system and hold it and allow it to resonate outwards, because it takes throughout time and space. We're still working with those that system. You have to hold it. And the more and more you can hold it, the more it starts to resonate inside of your body. And then it pushes out and it starts the imprinting process. So it imprints, it hits the water makes a snowflake, and then it starts to get inside all the cells. But you have to be able to hold this net. You have to hold the emotion. So how does that emotion make you feel? How does it feel when the emotion goes away? We were just in a Catholic shrine. I remembered this place my mother brought me to when I was a child, and I was like, we have to go back to get the spring water, because everyone knows the spring water is vortex water. Well, my mother went into the shrine area where everyone was praying, so I went with her. I sat there, I closed my eyes, and what did I feel? A giant vortex energetic, which flowed up my entire body, and I felt the net push out. And I was like, we just have to sit in this room all day long and we will ascend, right? Because that's exactly what it did. All the darkness, all the density, it pushed it out of the net. And instantaneously, this is what happens when you go sit inside of a pyramid. The pyramid is generating a massive vortex energetic, which pushes your net. So in the pyramids, we've had people reported their diabetes is gone. They no longer need glasses. And that's because the vortex pushes the net. Now, they've made copper pyramids and people have stuck their beds inside. That's a smaller vortex, but that vortex is pushing at the net. Different frequencies, it pushes at the net. All diseases pushing the net the wrong way. Well, it's not necessarily the wrong way. It's pulling inward, because the way that the heart chakra works is like this. When you're in love, or you're love and light, the energy flows outwards because you are pulling that energy of love from the source frequency and you're radiating it outwards. So you're shining bright. When we are in fear, we'll just call it fear, a lot of times your shoulders shrink down and you're pulling the energy into the heart, and it goes out the rear chakra, and then it imprints the grid so that it starts cycle repeats. So that's fear. It makes you shrink, makes you small, because you're not radiating the love outwards. Now, what I'm telling you is when you start to touch this net, you recognize, okay, so if the energy is pulling inwards, it doesn't feel good. It's causing diseases, distortions, sad feelings. So what we have to do is we have to, one, release the attachments to it. And then two, what's the opposite polarity emotion? If it's sadness, what does it feel like to be happy? Because the second that you are aware of happiness, you can then push the net out. Now, a lot of times people will say, I can't feel the net. I can't feel energy shifting inside the body. Release. What you would do in that situation is you would do the shadow work. and you would start releasing any dark emotional traumas. Because if you can't feel the net shifting, that means you have too much density on the field. You have to clear the darkness off, and then you'll very, very easily start to sense this system. It fires up like this. You can tell, you could feel it. And then you can make changes. So just imagine for 1 second, if you've ever wanted to go traveling, place more focus and attention on the net in the feet. Now, we know that our hands send light ions out of the hands. We could see this scientifically. We know people do Reiki energy, and that's sending light, that's sending love. Now, if you wanted to change your location coding, focus on your feet, the soles of the feet. So yes, you could do earth grounding. That's wonderful. But you can every single night and every single morning take lotion, rub it on the bottom of the feet. I love and bless my feet. Imagine a white light filling the feet. And now all of a sudden, imagine and visualize yourself standing on a tropical beach as you're rubbing your feet. How does it feel to be on that beach? All of those emotions, allow them to imprint your feet. Now what happens is that the feet control your location. This is how we move around the world. So if you're adding more light into the feet, it's going to start to affect your location ring, which is going to start a process of manifestation because you've just activated the net, which holds the emotion codes inside of the feet. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to sit back. You're going to start to see a manifestation of whatever experience it's going to get you to the destination you want to go. This is how it works. If anyone is having trouble with like their car, focus on the feet or the tires. So the star people have been telling us about reflections. When we start to notice issues or imbalances on the feet, you may have an imbalance in your tire on your car. That's normal. If you have an imbalance in your vision, you may start to notice your headlights because those are the eyes of your car. That's how you see, right? And so we start to look for different reflections. If you notice that you're having an issue with your hot water burner or oil burner, you would want to look at the emotions. What do your emotions do, right? Because the emotions are water in its nature. Now, the more and more we start to go inward, we start to heal all these things. And we start to energetically send our manifestations, thoughts, feelings, emotions towards this net. It grants us access into a higher degree of manifestation. So whatever it is that you guys want to focus on, imprint it inside your body and just see what happens. And the first thing that we should all do is, I love myself. That's a basic one, because when you love yourself, your entire life changes right off the bat, because now everyone around you is forced to love you or leave. And that's it, right? Because you get to a certain degree and you don't allow people to mistreat you. And that's because you have activated self-love. Now, the second step is your location. Because the second you love yourself, your location is next. You make your home beautiful. That's always the next step. And now, if anyone doesn't treat your home as beautiful, they're out. Very simple. Right? Because you won't allow that level of density or distortion inside your space or inside your field. You just won't. And it goes one step deeper, because now we have the civilization ring or the universal ring, which is the planets and such. But even still, your outer locations, you won't manifest the darkness anymore when you get to a certain degree, because you'll be healing every single fractal of the self. And then you won't tolerate the darkness. And then the darkness, it won't manifest for you anymore. That's just it. You get to a certain degree and it's like, it just doesn't exist in your life. But you have to go through the process of placing the boundary rings. Because the boundary rings is how you get from point A to point B. You have to say to the universe, I'm not willing to accept this energy. And it's okay to step out of that energy, and it's okay to pull yourself back out. It's okay to put yourself back in a happy, loving frequency. That's okay too. The more and more we start to set the tone for our lives, it changes our entire world. Now, this is always one of the things that people ask about. How are we going to go to 5D? How are we going to go? Well, what if going to 5D, it isn't what we think it is? What if, which it is, it's this. What if it's us manifesting 5D frequencies, and those 5D frequencies radiating out into the world that we already have allowing us to shift into a parallel reality in which we experience 5D. That's the way the system is set up. So this is the whole reason why the star seeds were sent here, because when we were sent here, we knew that we would go through the activation process, that we would heal our ancestral karma as well as any frequencies on the grid that need to be healed for all of the civilization, and that when the time was right, we would be activated to hold unconditional love, which then allowed that 5D frequency to radiate outward, generating a group manifestation so that we can help the entire Earth shift into 5D for the entire solar system and universe. That's why we're here. This is what we're all doing. Even if it comes with darkness, even if it comes with pain, even if it comes with solar energetic shifts where you're just like, oh, everything is, it's up in the air, release. It's okay too, because we're all going through it, and together we rise as one team, as one tribe. And the more focus and attention we each place on healing ourselves and helping others to heal, it really is going to allow this process to happen very smooth for us. So let me take a sip. The real power that we have is always in the now moment. Focusing on the past. See, here's the thing about the past. The past, it isn't really solid. So when we are focusing on the past, what we're actually seeing is a mirror reflection of a frequency that is having a distortion inside of us. Because if we were to focus on the past, but we were a very high frequency person, our past would be high frequency. For me sitting here right now today, if I focus on the past, the only memory that's going to come up, because this is the way the human body works, usually is a negative memory, because the higher self wants the negativity to be healed. That's why that memory comes in a focus. Think about how many memories in our past that we have. It's an entire lifetime. How many years were you here on this planet? So you have an entire lifetime of all these tiny little moments. Why did your higher self pick that moment in your past to give it to you? It's a blessing. It's because whatever darkness is in there is a reflection of the frequency coming from you that wants to be healed. So what we do is we do inner child healings. We consider any moment version of you yesterday and on, that's your younger child. We just heal it as such. And so we forgive. I forgive you for having that experience. I forgive myself for having that experience. And I love you and I bless you. And the more and more we start to do this, the reflections of the past start to shift, and then we start only seeing the positivity. That is how this works. Because the negativity being all healed, it just won't come up anymore. Now, visualization of the future is very interesting, because that's how you actually start to coax this type of magnetic energy, which every single experiential is magnetic in its nature. So that means, let's say you go and you walk down a street of the city. What did you smell? That's an emotion code. What did you see? That's an emotion code. What did you hear? What did you taste? All of these different parts or aspects of that entire experience, it's a brick. That entire experience contains all these different emotion codes. When we're looking into the future, it's going to give us access into the future emotion codes. What was that version of me wearing? Where was she? How did she feel like? She was fully healed. Do they have high technology there? Right? What's all the emotion codes from the future? Or it is us consciously designing the future, which is of high value as well. Because now it's us imagining the future that we want to see. It's not just diving into a meditation and pulling the future that we're on. It's us sitting down and becoming the creator. And this is what I want to see. This is what is here. And allowing that magnetics to fully wash over your body, which then in turn starts to put you on that timeline. It aligns you through your magnetics, which is all emotion in its nature. Your thoughts consciously create. So when you reach a certain level of awareness, every single word that comes out of your mouth counts. Every single word. Because it resonates throughout the entire body. And it starts the imprinting process. And each and every single word shall have an effect on your manifestations. All of them. Even if you are overhearing someone else's conversation. So in the case of overhearing other people's conversations, what we would do is this. Okay, you ask ourselves, why did I hear this? Because that is a reflection of a frequency inside of me that also needs to be healed. Otherwise, the people would not speak that way in front of me. There's different frequencies that our energy field will resonate, and the the people outside of you, they will just know, don't curse around that person. You just don't do it, because they'll feel it. It's a frequency. So if you're hearing someone talking and that talk is darkness, then that means that that darkness is there for you to see so that you can heal it. And the more you go inward and you start to forgive yourself, even for having the experience, I forgive myself for witnessing this type of darkness or for overhearing this level of density. And I love and I bless you. Thank you for the experience. The more and more we do that, we are thankful and humble, the more it activates neutrality. Now, neutrality from the human perspective, it can be tricky because there are some things in this world that, how are we supposed to hold neutrality to that? That's the question that every single person asks. But the second that you recognize there's soul contracts in place, everybody has to have free will so that they can have their own experience, and there's a call to action. So the call to action is, if you see darkness happening in front of you, you are called to make a decision. Do you step in or do you not step in? That's up to each person. I don't judge, because judgments, you have to go and you have to clear your field, right? So no judgments. Thank you, simulation. Now, when we come to neutral, it's okay. We send it love and light, because when you see darkness and you send it love and light, it activates a law of polarity. So it cross cancels both, and then the experience disappears from your life. So we handle it just like it's any other reflection. We send it love and light. Now, the more we are able to neutralize or come into the 0 point is what it truly is. Every single experience we've ever had. This is why we're supposed to go into the dark experiences from the past, and we are supposed to send it love and light, because you have to have both. The second that you have both the light and the dark, you're holding neutral. And the second you hold neutral, it cross cancels that frequency, and then you no longer have to experience it. This can also be done on a civilization ring, which means if there's any history that we don't like, then each and every one of us in our own realities, we go inside and we send it love and light, and we forgive and we realign our bodies. And when we do that, that will heal itself for the entire civilization that we see. Once again, the healing that I do is going to reflect back to me the universe that I am sitting on, because we are all multidimensional. You guys are going to have your own reflections, which means your history can be completely different than mine. This is what the Mandela effect is. It shows us how each of us is plugged into our own reality. If you think about it, each person is the source frequency. The source frequency is a frequency bandwidth. Many people know this as God. It allows for each soul to come down, and it comes down through a system. So it's the oversoul, the source frequency. It comes down to the higher self, which is you. And then the higher self broadcasts down into multiple bodies at once. And then that's my higher self. But now you guys have your own higher self. So we're all situated here. However, your reality could be totally different depending on the frequency that you're holding and the contracts that you have in place. So your history can be different. Literally, the civilization history can be totally different from you compared to me. Think about it from this angle. We have all read books. Now, what happens if you went to school in another country where they taught you a different history? That would mean that your history would be totally different than mine. Makes sense? Once again, your physical reality, it all manifests according to what you believe is true. It is not what you see is true. It is what you know is true will manifest for you in some way, shape, or form. And we do this on a collective level as well. However, if you've ever, and this is a great one because we just traveled, we drove from all the way from New York all the way straight down the coast to Florida. When you cross the state line, in every single state, it was like the trees would change, the vibe would change, the people drove differently. And that showed us. And I had said to my family members, I was like, but it goes one level deeper, because what happens when you step foot into somebody's yard, right? The vibe changes. Some people, they have flowers everywhere. They're pretty. They have birdhouses and like wind chimes and all the fun stuff. Some people don't do that. Their grass is overgrown. It makes you feel differently. So the boundaries of our energy field, it changes and shifts. We work as a collective. The entire state holds a frequency. I live in Pennsylvania. When I drive into New York, the second I cross the state line, I feel like it's race car mode activated. Right? I got to sit up in my chair. I got to look. My eyes, I got to get very alert, because the tone changes of the people. That's because you're in a particular location. So what happens when you leave this location? There's different frequencies out there that we can activate just by changing our location. Now, this is of high value, because the second that you realize your energy radiates out and it affects your space. And then the civilization ring as a whole, whatever state you're in, is having that effect on your body as well, which then changes the frequency you're radiating out. So we have to go and we have to shift and we have to pick where we resonate. Now, some people, they'll take a look at your zodiac charts and they'll be like, you can't live in this state. It's not in alignment with you. And then we look at them like, you're crazy. But this is the reason why. It's because there's a resonance, and that resonance may not be in alignment with your actual frequency. And the more and more we start to recognize this, it's like, oh, okay, now we are going to pay attention to the frequencies of not only our body, but the outer realities. Now, you may be in a location and all of a sudden you may feel the location frequency drop. So your happy home in your neighborhood can go all of a sudden from beautiful to now there's a little bit of litter on the streets. And now your focus and your attention is on it. And the second that that happens, now I'm not telling you guys to run. Don't run from anything. What I'm telling you is more light is needed. So the more we can start sending love and light to the frequency, to the location, right? I love and I bless you, Mother Earth. You guys, we have mountains here. We walk up the mountains. I touch the trees. I touch the plants. I love and I bless you, Mother Earth, because the trees hold the vortex. So a tree vortexes our energy all the way up to the human consciousness grids. So we're actually able to touch the trees. I always encourage to make physical contact, but send your thoughts, your wishes, your love, your manifestations into the tree, and allow the tree to vortex that energy all the way up, because it's going to blanket the entire location and raise the frequency, right? This is another thing that we call grid workers. There's some star seeds here that naturally radiate out and touch into the human consciousness grids, and they start to have an effect on the frequency held. So they may notice that they may live in a dark area, and then their block is like love and light, right? So all the lawns are nice on their block. They're in like it's like a secluded little area. And then you look outside of them and it's like a rough neighborhood. That's because you have a grid worker there. Whoever that individual is, they're shining a very high frequency, which then starts to affect the frequency of the location. We all can do this. You just have to tell your energy field, thank you for activating the grid worker ability, so that my love and my light shines as far and as wide as possible, allowing it to raise the frequency of all of Mother Earth. You could do another one. Thank you for raising the frequency everywhere I go. Thank you for healing the people who step into my energy field everywhere I go. Thank you for allowing each person on this live stream to be broadcast up to their highest potential timelines. The more and more we start to speak to the simulation, the more our reflections are going to come back to us, and we're going to start to see the changes. So you may start to see a reflection of, let's say, your highest timeline. It may broadcast on TikTok. That's a reflection. Thank you, hologram, for giving me my first reflection. Then all of a sudden, you may hear someone tell you, oh, yeah, you should do that. That's totally, I could see you doing that. That's a reflection. Thank you, hologram. Then all of a sudden, the more and more reflections you see, that means that the manifestation is you're on the timeline because it's showing you your attunement. The more and more you start to see the reflections, that means the quicker they come, that means it's about to manifest for you. That's how the system works. So work in the inward net, in that energy grid. Send yourself love and light. Know that I love each and every one of you guys, and thank you for being here along this journey with me. Thank you, Star People, for assisting us in this channeling tonight, and thank you for allowing the best information for the people to come. And thank you, guys. We are doing the shadow work Zoom tonight. So I normally start that at 8:30. It is 100% complimentary. There will never be a charge for it. So just send me an email through the DanielleLipton.com website, and I send you guys a Zoom link. You come, we do different meditations. We do a ton of stuff, whatever the Star People guide us to, and you guys have the opportunity to ask questions. So sometimes with the chat boxes, if I don't see the questions, you guys can get them answered in the Shadow Work Zoom. So you guys have many, many love and blessings. You have a wonderful night. Thank you.